Howdy again. It's mid-October 2021. I am Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, and welcome to episode number 66 of my This and That series. And by gosh, have I got a lot to cover in this video. I haven't made an episode in quite a while, although I've been making a lot of videos, so watch for them. Hang on to your hat. Here we go. This will be a long one. I have an important announcement to make, and that is that I have resumed going to auctions and sales, and I tend to go to many more until I run out of room, or run out of money, or I expire. So let me tell you a few things about recent sales that I've attended and several more that I will attend in the very near future, and I just have a load of stuff. And I know you guys like that video. That type of video, and I like doing them, and matter of fact I'm going to devote more energy to that because it seems like I'm not getting a lot of views on my machine shop videos, although I haven't given up. Let me show you what I've been doing. I watch a channel called Precision Transmissions, and someone recently reminded me to watch that, and the title of this video is You've Never Seen This. This is what we got as a present, and it's all about a cutaway of an automatic transmission, so check that out. Also, this is a cutaway model of a Chevrolet that I filmed at the Volo Car Museum, and I'll put the name of this video up here on the screen so you can see it, but this must have been at a car show because it's the engine, transmission, and rear end, and the whole thing is on a rotisserie. Not many people watch this video, but if you like cutaways, this is the granddaddy of them all, and it's about a 2-minute video in one of my old videos. And I was inspired again about cutaways after my recent trip to that Claremont Museum. Watch that video. Very few people did. All chrome plated and painted up. Be sure and watch this video of mine. It's 2 parts about a recent tool auction. Now this video has not been released yet, but it will be soon in November, and it's 3 parts, not 2 parts. A man called me from about 25 miles away and said, come on over, do I have a load of tools for you? So I was thrilled, and I think you'll be thrilled too. Let me show you how full the car was. There I am as I return from that ill-fated trip, and the car is loaded with tools and other merchandise, some of it great and some junk, but that's part of the excitement. Be sure and watch that. Hey, there on the front seat, you didn't get to see it, but there's a 4-inch Wilton bullet vise. I was recently at Arnfest 2021 and had a good time, got to meet a lot of people. I bought a few things, not very much, but I needed a depth micrometer that was just a half of a micrometer, and I bought this for $15, not in good condition at all, and it's missing some of the rods. And at first, when I bought it, I thought, well, somebody just ground this off. Now, I do know that Starrett makes a half depth mic like this, but I thought it looked kind of crude here, but I guess it's not, and the number corresponds with the catalog number for this, so I will clean that up a little bit of corrosion on there, but really surprised me when I got home and started looking at it again. Sitting in my easy chair, I realized that this was put in upside down. You see, it used to be glued on, and there are the other 3 rods. So it is a complete set, although not in very good condition, but the price was right. I think this is $300 or $400 if one was forced to actually buy it. And there it is in the Starrett catalog. It's the number 443. And the current price is $367. You probably remember me talking about my friend Tim Rosenthal in Wisconsin, and he is the manufacturer of the rose index, and I've demonstrated how to use that. But he contacted me and he said that he knows the man that runs the Quadrille factory. These are made in USA. So they sent along, I don't know whether it was Tim or the owner that sent these along, and this is a type of parallel, or should I call it non-parallel. Can we see the name on there? Quadrille, made for Machinist, by Machinist, and there's 2 springs in here and a ball, and this can be used in a milling machine vise for tapered work, even with a compound taper. And I'll be doing a video on that, and I'm not paid for doing this. And there's a slightly smaller, so we got a 3-incher and a 4-incher, beautifully made. And you will recall a recent video where I made a similar type of thing, taper parallels or taper jaw vices. There's one given to me by a viewer, and several different models that I have in there, but I won't talk about that now. That's been pretty well covered. For some time now, I'd been looking for a collet adapter that would go into the spindle of my Clausing 12-inch lathe. So when I was at Arnfest, a man by the name of Tom Kleinschmidt, let me show you his picture, and there he is, and he's giving me what we both thought was the correct adapter, but there it is, and it is not correct, unfortunately. But boy, when I was standing there in the cold, I thought, that's it, that is it. But the actual size of it would be like this, so there is a considerable difference. That's just the sleeve to hold the center in the headstock, but the idea here is, but thank you to Tom for that anyway. Thank you to Scotch Savage, who has one of these. That's what it actually looks like, and he made me a drawing with all of the accurate dimensions on how to make that. But you know, that's hardened steel. It would be no easy job. He also sent pictures and dimensions for the thread protector for the spindle on a Clausing lathe. So thank you for that, Mr. Savage. Hope I make that someday. I'm getting pretty lazy though. Also at Arnfest, a man by the name of Ron Brown, and there he is, and in his hand is a dial indicator, and he's got a new lens on it. But what is interesting is that it's marked, I hope you can read that, Packard Motor Company. He knew I liked Packards, and he knew that I liked measuring instruments, so thank you for that, Ron. And there I am with my longtime pal, Keith Rucker, at Arnfest 2021. So also at Arnfest, we took a little tour of the steam shop where the locomotives were. Then we went outside to look at a few things, and there was a whole pallet load full of bench molders, you know, rammers I should say, and several patterns on top, you know, that were mounted onto match plates. I thought that was neat, and they were laying out in the weather. Now that Henry is getting bigger, he's helping me do some repair jobs. Here he is painting one of my yard ornaments, a concrete deer. Notice that he doesn't have any paint on his shirt yet. Someone asked me how old and how big Henry is, and I just answered by saying, well, he's about the radius of a steam engine wheel, and he just turned 7. Quite a while ago in one of my videos, I said tongue-in-cheek something about Mantovani music, who, you know, it's very syrupy. Well, it's great music, but who listens to that kind anymore, except old people? But that's the kind of music that people often listened to when they were dating girls, you know. And the women loved that kind of music. And also, we like to play on the radio from Chicago a very romantic man that would play music, and his name was Franklin McCormick. Anybody remember that out there besides Craig Heath? Anyway, I forgot to say that all of a sudden, a few weeks ago, there was a knock on the door, and there was my friend Dale. I hadn't seen him in quite a while, and he said his grandmother died, and he pulled out these Mantovani records and gave them to me. And I'm not sure if he was tongue-in-cheek or serious. I don't even have a record player anymore. I watch a channel called Bear's Rod Shop. I hope some of you do as well. Real neat guy. He's from Texas, and recently he hit the mother lode. He bought out an entire shop, which was shop supplies, taps, dies, drills, and power tools, you name it. It took him many, many loads, big truckloads to get it home. Some of that stuff is for sale. But anyway, he contacted me and said, "Do you need any abrasives?" Because there were piles and piles of abrasives, and they're heck yeah. So he spent like 25 bucks sending this to me, and there's a roll of 120 grit, and that's 2-inch wide. There's 320 grit, 1-inch wide, Bear's Rod Shop. Check it out. And then here's yet another roll. So thank you so much, Bear. That's 120, which is a very nice type of abrasive to use in any shop. So you can see these are full rolls, brand new. Really appreciate that. That's a lifetime supply for me. Thank you to Paul St. Marie for sending me this book a couple months ago. It's called The Boy Electrician. This is a reprint of a book from 1910 or something like that. It's just got these wonderful plans and ideas for electrical gadgets, and this is back in the days when kids didn't play games. They built projects, motors, telegraphs, you name it. Magnetism, it covers it all. So this is really a neat book. There's the ISBN number if you want it. You won't believe this. I received an email, and it's anonymous. I cannot tell you the man's name, but the original owner of this set name was Mr. Nielsen, and it's made in Switzerland. Brunning used to be a popular name in blueprints and so on. I don't know if they still make these, but he told me this is like a $400 set if you had to buy it. Now granted, you guys use Confusion 360, you don't need this, but there's all the inking pens, beautiful dividers and compasses, and all of the gadgets. This is so much better than the one I used when I was in college. So thank you to the anonymous donor for that. And there is a website if you want to look up that name and look at some of their sets. I guess they're still manufacturing them. I don't see that there's a market for it, but that's what I will be using now when I make my drawings. And speaking of 3D printing, there's Jay Leno in his video called Hybrid from 1916, the Owen Magnetic, and he is holding a 3D printed pattern that they used to make the, well, I don't remember whether it's the valve cover or the head for that engine, and that's what he has in his hand, is a 3D print. There's no way he could have found parts for that car. They only made a few of them. So check that out. You might find that pretty neat. I did. If YouTube actually called me on the phone and scolded me and said, "Mr. Pete, you're watching way too many videos. We can't allow that. It takes up too much bandwidth," or whatever they use. You are allowed 2 channels. That's all you can watch. 2 channels. I would select Diesel Creek and Andrew Camarado without blinking my eyes. Check out their channels if you haven't. I just love these guys. I know, it's a rose between 2 thorns. Well, you remember Palmer Moynihan on the left and his buddy Nathan. Well, they came up from Texas for Arnfest, and they stopped in to see me. And they had a little gift for me. Let me show you it and explain it to you. Well, you'll never guess what this is because it's a 3D print. And it's a 3D print, and there they are. That was a collaboration, I think, between the two of them. This is a 3D print, and it could be used as is. You don't necessarily have to cast it. It's probably too thin to cast. Of a Delta work light that went on a drill press, and Palmer told me that they're kind of rare. If you wanted to actually buy one, they're quite expensive. I'll turn the camera around behind me real quickly and show you what I'm talking about. Thank you guys for this. Well, there it is, mounted on my Delta drill press, and you know what? We don't even think this is that good of design because you can't get the light in to where you need it. It just doesn't swing far enough in, and you'll burn the heck out of yourself. I believe this is die cast. All those years I thought it was just stamped steel, but it's die cast and considered collectible. But anyway, there it is. And if you put an LED light in there, you won't get burnt. I recently made this hand wheel and drawbar for the little Harlan's lathe. But anyway, my friend Ted in Wisconsin made the 3D print for me, the foundry pattern. If you're interested in that for this project, or maybe you can use it for something else, it's available on Thingiverse. Just look up Ted Sikora and you'll find this as well as several other things that he did for me over the years. Thanks, Ted. You know, we all love vice grip tools, and there's a few of mine, maybe about half of them or less. I got every style and size known to mankind, but several years back they closed the Nebraska plant and all of the manufacturing is done overseas. I think it's Chinesium now. I believe it's Cooper Industries or some conglomerate like that. Now, I'm not saying the quality is bad. I really don't know, but I wanted to tell you that the old factory there in Nebraska was bought out by Malco, and let me switch cameras here. Okay, this is the Malco website, and in Nebraska now they are now manufacturing in that old factory. Now they must have re-outfitted it because the old factory was pretty beat up, but they sell what they call the Eagle Grip, made in USA. And they don't call it a vice grips because that's a trade name. It's a locking pliers, but it's pretty awesome. The only thing is you're not going to get it for $9. I think they're about $30, and they're really meant for tradesmen because Malco makes a lot of tools for sheet metal workers and some other trades. But check out their website. You probably can't afford one of these, but I think they are of the highest quality. I hope you watched my recent video where I visited the Claremont collection in Chicago, and I talked about cutaways and I talked about various teaching aids that they had there. Well, I got an email since then from a man by the name of John Walt, and I believe he collects these models. And years ago they had plastic models for boys to put together, and I'll show you one that I have here in a minute too. But there's one called the automobile chassis. And there's the parts for the V8 visible engine, and I built one of those when I was, I think, a senior. My dad got it for me, and there it is. It may be available, it may not, and by the way, that kid is just gagging because his dad's breath is so bad from smoking that pipe, but he's putting on a good show like he's enjoying himself. And there's the parts for a radial engine. Imagine that, a radial engine. They had a visible woman and a visible man too. Do you remember that? With all of the body parts and the wankle. So this is just extraordinary. But you know, I'm going to show you right now the one I have, but I could not get my grandsons or anybody else interested in it. Matter of fact, I took it to a couple tool meets. Nobody even looked at it, and I came within 1 inch from just plain throwing it out. Kind of wish I did, but let's see if I still got that. We'll take a quick glance at it. Okay, there's some of my plastic models that will never get put together up on the top shelf, almost up by the trusses. Let me pull that bottom one down and have a look at it. Okay, here it is. It's not a Revell. It's marked $25, and I don't know how old that is. Ages 8 and up. Yeah, try 13 and up. But this was still in the cellophane when I got it, and I picked up a lot of models at garage sales that are still in the shrink wrap because they were given to boys as gifts, and they were never opened because the kid has no interest whatsoever. Matter of fact, you won't find any of this stuff at Walmart. You have to go to a hobby shop, and then it's very expensive, $25 or so for a plastic model of an airplane or a car. But there it is. By the way, this isn't for sale, so don't ask me. There's all the parts still in. There's the engine block, still in baggies, or not baggies, I mean shrink wrap. Not shrink wrap, but it's sealed. All the parts in there. Now this is a 4-cylinder, not the V8. Maybe I said that already, but it kind of saddens me, you know, that there's no interest in these mechanical things anymore. Oh well. And here's the set of directions, and it's 44 pages. Can you imagine a 10-year-old reading that and putting it together? They'd be few and far between. I got a letter the other day from my friend in Crawfordsville. Is it Crawfordsville? No, just Crawford, Texas. Jay Miller. He's got a good website with a few videos, so check out his channel. Crawford, Texas. Thank you, Jay. So make sure you watch those videos of that auction that I went to and the other one where I was given a lot of stuff, including that beautiful 4-inch bullet vise. And all of this stuff is going to Goodwill, boxes full of tools that I don't want. And I got a toolbox here and a box full of tools. Toolbox and a box full of tools. That's going to my friend Larry, who beat me to the punch a little bit at that tool giveaway. Let me show you what he got. I was quite envious. Now I know how you guys feel. Okay, here's a couple pictures of the things that Larry got that he beat me to the punch with. There's a few things there that I wouldn't be interested in. But let me zoom in on this one, and you're going to see someplace in there a couple of nice starrett micrometers. I zoomed in just a little bit, and there you can see a 1-inch and a 2-inch starrett micrometer. Technically, those belong to me. These last few picturs that I am going to show you were sent to me by my shop teacher friend Roger Taylor out in California, and these were the last Burgmaster machines that were made and sent to Ford. So take a look at these. You can see they're machining a Ford V8 there. Now these don't appear to be the very high production machines where they would have made millions of engines. I'm wondering, since this is from the 60s and 70s, if these weren't the machines that were used to produce those Ford racing engines that you heard so much about regarding Ford versus Ferrari. And these pictures were made available to Roger from the grandson of Mr. Berg, the founder of Burgmaster, and the grandson's name was Paul Ginsberg, I guess it is, and he was a school friend of Roger in California. And these machines were not the ones with the big automated tool changers. As you can see, there was a turret that had to rotate. There it says Burgmaster. But notice these machines are not connected to one another like the so-called transfer machines. I hope you enjoyed those pictures. Thank you, Roger, for sending them. Boy, was that a long video. I know it was. Did anyone stick with me through the whole thing? Must be about a half hour. So anyway, that brings it to a conclusion. Be sure and watch for many, many other videos that I have coming up. I mentioned some of them at the beginning of this video. So this is Mr. Pete saying so long for now, and I'll see you next time.